TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. It is a Wednesday. Today is September the 18th. And man, we're coming down to it, I think, in Major League Baseball. I think there's like 11 games left for some of these teams. And we need a congratulatory speech today. Well, not really. But breaking news, the Milwaukee Brewers are the first team to clinch a playoff spot. They are in. So congratulations to the Milwaukee Brewers. And to be honest, at the very start of the season, I didn't see this coming. I was probably more Cubs-oriented than I was Brewers-oriented. And it always about the Brewers pitching. You know, they got rid of Burns and Woodruff was hurt. And, you know, I didn't know how they were going to make it through. And I still don't know how they made it through. But whatever. I mean, that's just the way it is. And they hit enough, right? I mean, I didn't expect them to hit either. So, you know, congratulations to the Brewers. I think that's really good. You know, they've been without, you know, their closer most of the season, all kinds of stuff for that team. But it also kind of gives you a little more indication as to, like the Cubs or the Cardinals, teams that have money, that this division's up for grabs. I mean, you know, you could have certainly done a lot more than what you did to get there. So congratulations to Milwaukee, and we'll see how things kind of pan out for them. But they'll be able to set up whatever they want to in regards to the playoffs. And then, you know, looking at the games tonight and what are important, you know, you've got in the American League, the Royals, Twins, and Tigers all fighting for one spot. And I'm talking about one wild card spot. And at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me that the American League Central would take two of the three wild card spots, I probably wouldn't have bought into that either. But that's where we are. Seattle's on the outside looking in, and they have a chance, but they're going to need to win a lot of games. I mean, if you have to make up 3 games and there's only 11 games to go, you're going to almost have to win them all. And, you know, they're playing the Yankees, so they didn't look good last night. And they got a shot tonight, but they didn't look good last night. And I thought they had a decent chance last night. So then you have and we'll see how things go for Minnesota. You know, this is a team that is just either being mismanaged. And I made a comment in my group earlier today. I think AJ Hinch for the Detroit Tigers is doing an amazing job for that team. He's developing young talent. He's developing young pitchers. He's getting the hitters. He's making good decisions. He took Casey Mize out in the right spot last night to win the game. I was on the Royals. The Royals had 2 opportunities with bases loaded, didn't come through, and then the Tigers win the game in extra innings. So, you know, I think A.J. Hinch is doing a great job. So rightfully so, I think the Tigers are in a good spot. Now they still got to keep going. I mean, they're a game and a half behind the Twins to make the final wild card spot. And they're all still trying to catch Cleveland, and I don't think they're going to make it at this point. But, you know, the Royals are only a game and a half up on Minnesota, and then the Tigers are a game and a half behind Minnesota to make the playoffs as a final wild card spot, and Seattle's 3 back. So we'll see what happens in that division. And then in the National League, You've got it's really all down to the Mets and the Braves at this point, and the Diamondbacks. It's one of those three is not going to make it. The Diamondbacks are half a game ahead of the Mets, and the Braves are 2 games behind the Mets. So, theoretically, they're only 2.5 games behind the Diamondbacks. So these teams need to keep winning to make the playoffs and get in and see what they can do in the playoffs. So interesting to see how that plays out and where things kind of go from there. And the better teams in the playoffs, the better teams, the division winners, the teams that are going to have the Yankees and the Guardians theoretically are going to win those two in the American League, and theoretically they're also going to be the top 2 teams, so they're going to be able to set up their pitching. But we'll get into that as kind of things kind of come down here. But you look at that and you go, okay, well, what does that exactly mean? Who either one of those 2 teams have dominant pitching at the starting front end? It's like, do they have a Tariq Skubal to go out and pitch? No, neither team does. So we'll have to figure out kind of what that looks like. In the National League, I think it might be important to see how that kind of plays out, because the Phillies and the Dodgers are 91-89 games. The Brewers are already in at 87 games, and why do they care? Unless they're going to try to catch the Dodgers and be the 2nd seed, they don't care about winning these games. They're already in. So I would say we got to be careful on betting on Brewer games. Hey, Marty Lowe, welcome in. How you doing? We got some football later on here, a couple bets I made. But I'm not going to mess around too much longer because there's a lot of games that start at 6:40 today. I mean, I don't know, 5 of them, something like that. What's it's 6:35, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6:35 to 6:50. There's like 6 games, and I come on at 6:15. So let's hit some MLB stuff, and then we'll wrap this up with some of these things. It says, what are the Dodgers going to do for starting pitching in the playoffs? Well, Marty, I think one of the biggest things is that the Dodgers are going to have Yamamoto. He's going to pitch. They're also going to have Glass now. He'll pitch. And from what I just read earlier today, Kershaw will be there. These guys only got to be able to make it a month, and they're only going to pitch, a certain number of times and certain number of, and then it's a playoff. So if they get into any kind of trouble, they yank those guys out of there. So they're not going to pitch a lot of innings. So I think those guys. What was interesting is I think that those Dodger pitchers are coming back kind of at the right time. I know that Glasnow had an issue where he was supposed to pitch some kind of a bullpen game or some kind of thing or whatever, and he didn't do it. But there could be some concern with him, and that's going to be the biggest one. If Glasnow can pitch, he can match up to whoever is going to pitch for whoever else. And Yamamoto is going to be good enough to kind of be a number 2, and then Kershaw, just with his guts and everything else, he can go out there. And then worst case scenario is you got to throw Stone. And he's been decent, but back half of the season he wasn't very good. So we'll see. They're going to need their softball lineup to hit, but that'll be another whole topic of discussion when we get there, which is not too far away, because all these quote big offenses, like the Yankees, right? If they walk Judge or don't give Judge the opportunity to hit home runs, how are they going to score runs? So we'll see how all that plays out, and we'll look at that as we see what the matchups are and what these guys are hitting like, because the playoffs are more about defense, bullpens, and pitching than they are about offense. It's more about timely offense and gutty at bats, and we'll see. I'm not convinced the Yankees are set up for that, so we'll see. I like, that's where Soto comes into play for the Yankees. But, that's where the Dodgers are in great shape, because they got all those guys that have been there, done that kind of stuff. those guys are all gutty at bats, all of them, and that gives them a pretty big leg up on a lot of the competition when it comes to that. But we'll see. Interesting. So anyway, today there was lots of games at 6:40, and where some of this stuff came in. If I can pull up my numbers real fast, if I can find them. Man, I got a lot of stuff open today. We'll close that because I don't need it anymore. So we're going to go over here. So the first game that was on the board at 6:35, this was San Francisco and Baltimore. And this is Birdsong, and this is Kramer. Now, over the last 30 days, Kramer's been the best pitcher that Baltimore's had. I mean, I don't know how else other than to say it than that. And that's a problem in itself when you think about going into the playoffs, right? You need pitching, you need Burns, and I heard rumor mill Rodriguez might be back for them, and if he's back, then that'll help them a lot. But if he's not, that's a problem. So we'll see. Where my concern with this is I've got the game at -174 for Baltimore. Birdsong's one of these guys that he's going to go strike out a lot of guys, but he walks everybody. His walk rate is terrible. If I go find him and get to his starting pitchers, Birdsong, his walk rate is 8.04 per 9 innings. 8. So he's walking a batter he's striking guys out at 10.9, and he's walking guys at 8.4. His whip rate's 1.53, but batting average against 175. Look, he's a young kid. He's like 20 years old, real young kid. He hasn't made many starts, made some, has had good starts, but most of the time he gets hit. And he's off of probably one of his best starts of the season. So I don't expect him to do well today. I expect Baltimore to do well. I expect Baltimore's the right side, but I'm not paying 155. I don't like that because Kramer doesn't throw a lot of back-to-back good games. And his last 2 starts was a game score 68, game score 72. So I'm like, and they got beat yesterday. So they got shut out yesterday. So they haven't been hitting at all. In fact, when it comes to runs scored, I'm pretty sure, let me pull up the offense for a second. They are 1.8 runs per game over the last 7 days. That's the worst in baseball. And so how do you support Baltimore? You don't. I mean, you can try, but and you can win if you get somewhat lucky here. But the Birdsong is good enough that he strikes people out. Balls in play aren't necessarily there, and he walks guys. So you got to hit the ball to win. So I'm going to pass on that one, even though I think Baltimore is the right side. The number says, hey, it's a little short, but there's some things underlying with that I decided that wasn't the best way to go. But a game at 6:40 that I think is good. Now, yesterday, for God's sakes, I was on 2 games that both went into extra innings and frustrated me to no end. The Royals had chances and should have capitalized on their chances. Didn't. Game goes into extra innings, and it's kind of a crapshoot in extra innings, and they lost. And I'm on them at -148 or whatever the number was. Hate doing that. Losing. But on the other side, game went into extra innings. I was on Houston, won that one, and they were plus like 110 or 109 or whatever it was, small dog. But, we won that one because Brown pitched a good game and they had a couple hits. So today, those 2 teams play at 6:40. And I'm going to go again, and this is a pick'em game. It's like -105. Go with Houston. And the reason is because you got Valdez on the mound. And guys, look, Valdez at the beginning part of the season and kind of middle, I don't even know if it's quite the middle, but he was so weird. He lost games he shouldn't have lost and wasn't pitching so well, and his ground ball rate wasn't super high. So something was off. It ain't off no more. And I have this game at like same kind of number. I've got it actually San Diego 115. But I'm telling you to bet Houston. I bet Houston. And the reason that I'm telling you this way is because if you go and we pull up the numbers on this game, starting pitching, and I go and look situationally, the number one thing is, remember, we talk about this all the time. Valdez has made 26 starts. He missed a couple starts because he didn't feel good. He was hurt, whatever. So he's not going to make 32 starts. He's at 26. In those 26 starts, the Houston Astros have won 18 times. 18. They're 18-8. And I get it. They're facing Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease is pitched. Where is he? He's already pitched 31 times. 31 times for San Diego. 19-12. Both good. Both great numbers. 18-8 dominant numbers. And what the difference, though, is over the season, Valdez is a 70 SOPS plus. So he's 30% better than an average pitcher. Cease is 74, 26% better than average pitcher. So there's not much difference there. But over the last 28 days, there's no question who the better pitcher is. It's not even close to who the better pitcher is. Valdez is a 20. 80% better than an average pitcher. And Cease is a 96, more like an average pitcher. Cease is a different kind of guy. He's a guy that'll get on a streak. And when he's on a streak, you saw it earlier this season, 1 hitter, 2 hitter, no hitter, all that kind of stuff, back to back to back to back to back. And he's dominant on strikeouts. Well, when he's not on those streaks, like his normally is, he has control problems. And his strikeouts, even though he throws hard, does all that stuff, aren't quite as high as they normally. And he gets hit a little bit. So he's a good pitcher. He's an ace. But at the same time as that, he's a streaky guy that you want to be careful of betting on when he's not. I don't want to say he's not right, because that's not the right way to say it. When he's not his dominant self, he can be beat. And these are the Astros. So, and the Astros want to win these games. So I think, this is one of those spots where Valdez been there, done that, and Cease really hasn't. Think about it. How many big games has Dylan Cease pitched? He pitched for the White Sox. How many big games could he have pitched? How many playoff contending games did he pitch? So I don't think he's really been tested that way. And in these kind of matchups, I think he's going to lose. My opinion is he doesn't have the mental toughness that some of the other guys have. Valdez has mental toughness that's unbelievable. So I think that was important. And the second part of this, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but this is San Diego has been awesome against right-handed pitchers all season long. Like they're if you look at the season long numbers, they're in the top 3 or 4 of offense of all of them against right-handed pitching. Left-handed pitching is a totally different monster. Over the last month, they are minus 25% to an average offense. Weighted runs created plus. So that means they are 75%. So 25% worse than an average offense against left-handed pitching. That's not very good for a playoff team, a team that's trying to make a run at the Dodgers, trying to stay ahead of the Diamondbacks, which I think they've got that. I think they're in as a wild card team. But this is just one of those bad spots where they're going to face a lefty, but it's not just a lefty. It's a good lefty, and he's throwing really well right now. In fact, if I go pull up his numbers, we'll go back to pitchers here for a second. He's got the best metrics on the board today. Well, second best. Scooble has the best. And Valdez, 2.41 xFIP, 2.70 Sierra, and 2.06 FIP. Right, these are best in baseball type numbers. Strikeouts 9.69 per 9 innings. Balls in play not going to be there. Home runs allowed 0 in a month. We talked about it yesterday. If you're not hitting home runs, you ain't going to win these games. Batting average against 144. Whip rate 0.81. They're going to have to work so hard to get on base. He's got a 1.23 WPA today, winning percent added. It's the best of everybody on the mound today, and that includes Skubal. Skubal's a 1.13, so not very far off. But point being is, there's no better pitcher today than Valdez, and I'm going to back that, especially against a team that doesn't like to hit left-handed pitchers. So give me the Houston Astros today as a small dog, and I'll take that. And I didn't even really get into the offense, but the offense, Houston ranks 9th, and San Diego ranks 7th. Houston scoring 4.4 runs a game, San Diego 4.2. So they're about the same on offense, but there's a big difference in Houston's offense today than even last week. Kyle Tucker's back. Kyle Tucker was a major part of why they won the game yesterday. He had 2 hits, and one of them was an extra innings, driven the run to win the game. So he makes the lineup deeper, and when it gets the power going and stuff, he's a key cog for them. But he's a good hitter. So I think that makes a big difference in who the Astros can line up out there against Dylan Cease. And plus he bats left-handed, so that's going to help against a right-handed Dylan Cease. So that was a big play. Some of the other thoughts that I had, because we're running out of time for these games. Let me get back to where my numbers were, and I can kind of run them down real fast. I like the Boston Red Sox today. Depends on what kind of number you get, but I got them as a 124 favorite. Pepio sucks, and they're going to face, and Houck's on the mound. It's the best pitcher they got. So the only issue that I had with the game at all is Boston's not hitting. They're like 28th out of 30 teams, but Tampa Bay is like 24th out of 30 teams. So I do like that bet. So if you want to play on Boston, I don't think there's a problem with that. Yesterday I was telling you to take Tampa Bay, but today I don't think is the right way to do that. I think you want to do it the other. But again, these are teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. So sometimes you just put beer and pizza money on these things and hope that they do okay. And the other time is you sit there and go, I don't want to bet beer and pizza money on something that's not going to give me a big return. It's not like 2-1, 3-1 or whatever. So I'll just let the game go and do whatever. So however you bet, it's up to you, however you handle your bankroll. But in terms of bets, I think that'll be all right with the Red Sox. That was one. I think you got to be real careful today on the New York Mets. The Mets are throwing Quintana, and Hers is throwing for the Nationals. And I didn't go do all the stuff because I wasn't that interested in the game, but Hers has been pretty good. I do have this number over here I can share with you. So Hers, he is a SOPS plus 17 in his last 28 days. 83% better than average pitcher. And he's facing Quintana. Now, Quintana's been pretty good lately. And the Mets do hit left-handed pitching. So this is kind of one of those spots. But value-wise, it's all on the Nationals tonight. So I would, even though the Mets got to win these games and the Mets are trying to stay ahead of the Braves and all that stuff, this is one of those up-ender kind of games where the Nationals can pull off one, and for a lot of people that might be a shocker. But I don't think that's and the other one that I have no interest in at all anymore is Nola and Peralta. The Cubs lost is what happened, that made it so that the Milwaukee Brewers are in. And Peralta's going against Nola. Nola's had 2 straight bad losses. It's a good time for him to get right. And if the Brewers are kind of like, oh, we just won, we're going to celebrate and blah blah blah, they might be drunk going out there to play the game. So I think this is just a spot where Philadelphia is the right side, and just be careful, kind of in the next day, hangover type days, with the Brewers, and then we'll figure out what kind of lineups they put out there, because they might just put in a whole bunch of kids and do whatever. I don't know. I didn't look at the schedule, who they're playing and stuff. But here's the next bet that I made. And my number on this game is Detroit minus 156. This is Scooble, and he's going against Marsh. So Chris Sale has been data-wise, statistically, the best pitcher in baseball. It's been that way, most of the season. And, obviously he had to get there, but he's just been dominantly good. Tariq Skubal's the second best dominant pitcher in baseball. And he's pitching today in a game that matters. So his opponent, the Royals, he hasn't done real well against this season. He's pitched against them 3 times, and 2 times his game scores in those games have been below 50. So that's that tells me that the Royals seen him. They see him every year, so it's nothing new to them. So they're not afraid of him, put it that way. And however, Marsh is pitching for the Royals. And don't just say, okay, it's just Marsh and blah, 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 because you have to really look at this. One of the things we talked about, right, is how many times has he started? Well, Marsh, if you pull up Marsh, there he is, 23 times he's pitched. And you might not have thought that, but he started 23 times for the Kansas City Royals. They're 15-8 when he pitches. 15-8. That's pretty damn good. We just talked about some of these guys, like Houck's the best pitcher the Red Sox have, 14-14. And you got Marsh, probably the worst guy, and they brought in the guy from the Rangers, can't think of him off the top of my head because he got hurt, to take his spot. And then now that guy got hurt, so now Marsh has to come back in and pitch. And he's 15-8, but he's also been pretty damn good for Marsh. So over the last 28 days, SOPS plus, he's a 115. So he's 15% worse than an average pitcher. For the season, he's a 106. Again, slightly worse than an average pitcher. At home, remember, it's a big deal in Kansas City. Now he's a 109, so he's worse than an average pitcher at home. What I liked about this is a couple other things. The Royals are supposed to be putting their foot on the gas. Pasquantino got hurt. Since he got hurt, they don't really have the same kind of RBI guy that they need in that spot. They signed Tommy Pham, but he's not like the big RBI guy. He just tries to get on base. He has good professional at-bats. But in this spots, in the last 20 games, they're 8-12. That's not going to get it done, and they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. Whereas the Tigers are making a big run. The Tigers are 13-7 in the last 20, 8-2 in the last 10 games, and the Royals have only played against left-handed pitchers 31 times this season. So it doesn't seem right, but that's the right numbers, and it's not very many. Like the Rays, or not the Rays, the Mets have faced 42 times, 44 times for the Nationals. There's 41 times for Seattle. So that's a low number, 31 times. They've only won 13 of them. So they're 13-18 against left-handed pitching. And again, just like we said with San Diego, this isn't a normal left-handed pitcher. In this case, this is the best that baseball can throw at you, Tariq Skubal. So let's even go a little further, because it's amazing. So Tariq Skubal, 2.42 xFIP, 2.52 Sierra, 1.87 FIP. Like, how do you get on base? Do you know what his walk rate is? 0. You can walk anybody. That's amazing. Strikeout rate, 10.58 strikeouts. He strikes people out. He doesn't put any body on base, and he does give up a few hits. Batting average against 263, but even that, his whip rate's 1.01, and that's the best in baseball, top 25% anyway. So his soft contact rate or hard hit rate, 19.7. This is the best one on the board today. You can't hit him hard. You might get a couple hits, but they're not damaging blows. He doesn't give up home runs. He doesn't walk guys. So you really have to work to score runs. His WPA 0.62, but for the season, it's one of the highest ones out there. It's a 4 for the season. Last 28 days, it's a 0.66. For the last 30 days, it's a 0.62. And his game score average for the year, 63. When I always say, hey, that's what aces do. They throw 60s. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And for his last 7 days, it's a 64.9. He's really good. So Marsh doesn't stack up to that. And the Tigers are a team that's pretty hot. So my number is higher. I like the number that I had at like 150, 155. I was able to bet him at, you can get him at 130. I think I bet him at 124 earlier in the day. So I don't have any problem with this bet at all. And I like the Tigers here. So those are the two main, big bets were Houston Astros and the Detroit Tigers. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else. I think St. Louis wins today. I just don't want to pay the price. It's minus 200. Sonny Gray's pitching against Woodford. Woodford's not been good all season. And, the Pirates kind of packing it in and closing shop, if you want to call it that. I think Sonny Gray dominates and wins that game. But I don't want to pay 200 for that. And then I thought it was an interesting game with Toronto against Texas, because you got two pitchers that most people don't know about in Bowden Francis, who has been phenomenal since they've given him the opportunity. And he doesn't have dominating stuff, by the way. He doesn't throw 97, 98. He throws 93 miles an hour. And Bradford for Texas. And both of these guys have been great. Francis, in his last 7 starts, by the way, game score 72. Holy crap, 72. And that includes a game score 48 in there where he wasn't very good. If I go pull it up a different way, he's pitched in his last 4 starts, 29 innings, only gave up 9 hits. That's pretty good. And he's going to face a team that can't hit in Texas. But, you've got Bradford, who's been really good too. So he hasn't been that good. But so my line's about right. I just thought it was an interesting matchup. Have no problem with backing the underdog in that spot. But again, these are two teams that are out of the playoffs. Toronto does not hit left-handed pitchers very well. So if they would have hit right-handed pitching a little better, and it was a right-hander on the mound, I might have said, hey, maybe we'll do that. Because, like yesterday, Evaldi pitched and they beat him up. Of course, their pitcher got beat up too. Bassett, he didn't pitch good. So it was, one of those, softball scores type games. So, and then, the Yankees beat up Seattle yesterday, beat them up pretty bad. And we're in a spot here where Cortez is a guy I don't mind backing. I just don't like to back him on the road. He's a much better home pitcher. And Miller, Bryce Miller, who pitches for Seattle, is great at home. He's dominant at home. But Judge is starting to hit. Judge didn't hit home runs yesterday, but he hit doubles and singles, drove in like 4 guys. I think Wells, who batted behind him, drove in 3, and Soto hit a home run, drove in 2. So, you got 3, 4, 5 that drove in, 8 runs or something like that for them. And then they got out of a couple jams, and pitching wise, they did well. I don't know if you watched the box score or looked at it yesterday. Stroman pitched 3 innings in relief. Got a save. So I'm not sure if that's what they're going to do with him since they got Schmidt back. But it makes sense to me that they would move Stroman out and let Schmidt pitch because he can pitch. So we'll see how that stuff takes shape. It's kind of a pick 'em kind of game. Obviously, it means way more to Seattle. But, the Yankees are trying to win, be the number 1 seed. So those games matter to them for that reason. I don't know that they're trying to, get Judge to 60 home runs or something. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to do that too. I don't know. But anyway, point being is that I don't think there's enough value there to play that game. But if I were going to do it, I'd be on the Seattle side only because Cortez at home is way better than he is on the road. So in terms of baseball, that's kind of where I'm at, kind of where the numbers folded out. 2 really good spots, I think, plus a couple of fringe spots that you can play. So when it comes to football, let's talk about Thursday night's game. This is the Jets and the Patriots. And I think, I talked about some of the notes that I made yesterday, and one of the biggest notes that I have is, the Jets, they played Tennessee yesterday, the week before, and I thought the game, the way it kind of played it out, there was a lot of mistakes in that game. I think Tennessee made some mistakes. I'm trying to think about this in terms of how good is the New York Jets offense, or not offense, defense, because coming into the season, they're a top 5 unit, right? And currently, if I pull this up a different way, if I look at the defense, which is what I'm looking at right now, if I look at defense and EPA, right? So extra points added, and you look at them on defense for the Jets. The Jets currently rank 22nd in defense. And when you're making bets in the NFL and you have to cover numbers like this, they're 6-point favorites. You really want to bet a good defense. And when you're trying to stay within a number, right? You need both. You need a pretty good defense and a pretty good offense. So we'll keep that in mind for a second. But the Jets ranked 22nd. But remember who the Jets played. The Jets have played San Francisco, and the Jets played Tennessee. And I think those are 2 much better teams than the San Diego Chargers and the San Diego Chargers that the Patriots played, and the Cincinnati Bengals in the condition the Bengals were in. So my opinion is that the Jets have a little more battle-tested, not much, but a little bit more battle-tested where New England is. Although New England's defense has shown a lot. Now, New England's a little more banged up this time. So here's where some of the edges and advantages are. The Jets should be able to get pressure on the quarterback. The offensive line for New England is not that good. So the Jets should be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I don't think Jacoby Brissett's going to be able to do much through the air, so they're going to have to run the ball. If you become one-dimensional in the NFL, it's going to be a very difficult thing. So they're going to try to muck it up. And muck it up meaning, run the ball, do this, kill the clock, do all kinds of stuff, right? So that doesn't give me the warm fuzzies about trying to cover a number. So I'm starting to lean Jets because you can put pressure on the quarterback, and then you have the better quarterback. I mean, Rodgers has proven that he can put the ball where you want it to go. This will be a home game. That'll be the first time they played at home. I think there'll be a little bit of energy in there for that. I think he'll be a little bit energized. So I think this is sort of a bad spot for New England in the way they're set up. Now, having said those things, one other kind of complication here. You can, through data points and different things, and try to figure out what you're looking at. I need to pull this up a different way so I can tell you specifically what I'm trying to say. They have measures now for being able to look at play calling, and whether it's good play calling or bad play calling, or kind of where things are and where people rank and all that. So the Jets rank 6th in their play calling. So that's offense and defense. So that tells me that they're doing a good job in putting their people in the right spot, making the right adjustments, doing the things necessary to win the games. And New England's doing a great job too. They rank 9th. But if you have a play calling edge, a talent edge, a quarterback edge, a home edge, it starts to add up. You got a pressure edge. If I look at the offensive line numbers, and I want to pull them up here for you for a second. Pressure allowed rate. So the New England Patriots, there's 32 teams. New England Patriots rank 30th out of 32 teams in pressure allowed rate. That's not a good sign. So I think what you run into here is a team in New England that doesn't match up to the Jets. So I'm going to tell you to take the Jets -6. I don't think it's going to get to -5.5, or I tell you to wait. We talked about yesterday on the show that 6 is a key number. So we're going to play the 6, and if it lands on 6, we get our money back. But I think that you're going to find this game to be 8, 9, 10 points-ish, somewhere in there. But still not necessarily a high-scoring game. I haven't been impressed yet with the Jets' explosiveness in terms of plays, being dynamic on big plays and that kind of stuff. So I think it's, two teams that are going to methodically move the ball. And you want to, I think, support the home team in those spots per se, teams that make good decisions. So that's why you look at things like play calling and that kind of stuff. So that's an NFL play. And then in a college, I don't have anything lined up for Thursday or Friday yet, but I have 2 spots that I think are worth talking about for Saturday as of right now. And I bet the first one. And guys, look, I'm gonna tell you, Profit X. It's Profit X Sports. It's a profit exchange. You can bet good numbers there. And I got this game, which is Missouri. I think Missouri's going to handle Vanderbilt. 19.5 is the number I got, and I was looking for it to be under 20. So as soon as it was under 20, I bet it. So I think Missouri is going to win by 3 touchdowns. When I pull up my numbers that I go pull for this, I told you we'd start getting into some numbers and some different things as some of this stuff starts taking place. Where's Missouri? There's so many games. There it is. So EPA margin for Missouri is plus 0.71. Yards per play margin advantage is 2.11 yards per play advantage. Those are huge numbers. And they're going to be playing Vanderbilt, who's a EPA margin of minus 0.02 and a yardage edge of EPA of 0.46, not even half a yard. So I think this is one, and it's a home game for Missouri. I think Missouri, they got backdoored and stuff last week against Boston College. I think this week they come back and they beat up for Vanderbilt, and then they go on and go from there. So that's spot number 1, and then spot number 2 that I think I haven't been able to bet yet. I'm going to tell you what the play is, and as soon as I can get there, I will. So looking at the lines, Notre Dame plays Miami of Ohio. The line's 28. I'm not going to cover 28, even though I think they'll cover the 28. Power ranking wise, they don't show that number, but I think they'll cover that number. Where I think you bet this game is it's widely available at 43.5. Go over 43.5. My issue is where I can bet here locally, I got 44. So I'm trying to wait it out to get to 43.5. And when I go to ProfitX, they don't have them all listed yet. There's only 20 games listed that I can bet there. And, so I go to my normal places that I go bet, and the number's 44, not 43.5. So if I can get 43.5, I'll wait to try to get it. If it becomes 44, it's 44, and that's what I end up betting. I truthfully think that Notre Dame might put up 44 points on their own. So those are 2 spots that I think that you can look at. I've got other stuff, but there's no point in talking about them yet. We'll talk about them on Friday, and we'll make some college football bets on Friday. We'll also make some more NFL bets on Friday, and certainly we'll look at the MLB board and see if there's anything else to going on with there. So anyway, guys, that's what I got for you for tonight. At least we didn't go an hour today. That's good. And like I always, follow me on Twitter, retweet, hit the subscription bells or whatever you guys do to help generate the show and keep it going. And then I'm not going to be on tomorrow. I'm never on Thursdays much. And we talked about Thursday's game already. So I will be back on Friday, 6:15, and we will see what we run into on that day. If you want to sign up and be a member of what I do, cost you $100, covers the whole season, covers the whole year. Just go to the website, mlb-today.com. There's a little link at the top. You just click the members button and sign up. Guys, I will talk to you again on Friday. Have a great night.